Fantastic. So, welcome everyone. It's nice to see you all. Welcome to MKU. I hope you guys have a good chance to look around and explore at the kind of things we do here. So my name is Iman Hussain and I'm a digital technologies lecturer here at MKU. I've been here a little over a year and it's been really fun getting to work with our students and with our linked companies. So let's take a bit of a deeper dive into what AI actually is. And you'll see the title here is quite interesting. Artificial intelligence or actual intelligence? That's because when we talk about AI, we often visualize or imagine plenty of different things. And it often depends on the kind of media you grew up with. I think Giancarlo mentioned earlier that the media is really polarized these days. We often have people doom-mongering and fear-mongering about AI or saying it's going to be the next best thing, and it's very black and white. The reality isn't quite black and white, and it's not grey either. It shouldn't have to be. The reality is much more mixed. So depending on when you grew up and where, you might think of AI like Skynet or HAL 9000, or more recently WALL-E and things like Siri. AI in its current form, in reality, is based all around this idea of large language models, which you've already had a bit of an introduction on. But you can see one displayed there, or in terms of the architecture. Effectively, you have the input, which is what you're sending in. It then makes hundreds, thousands, millions of decisions based on that input. That includes using data from previous trained data sets. It includes tokenizing what's being said and attaching weightings to it. And then based on that, it can give you an output, which is ranked based on how relevant it is before it finally gives you the output that you will see. And this creates a bit of a mimicry of intelligence, of natural intelligence, human intelligence. Because as we've explored earlier, AI very rarely knows the answer. But it knows things about the keywords that you've said, and it can arrange those into a sentence, and it's almost like a Mechanical Turk. For those of you that don't know, the Mechanical Turk was a chess-playing robot that was actually just a human in a box underneath. There aren't humans behind AI, although there have been cases where AI-powered machines and products have had humans in cheaper or less economically developed parts of the world doing the work. What that means is that it's not really clever in the same way that a human is clever. Now, you don't need me to tell you about AI or how useful it is or what kind of AIs are already there. You may recognize many products already use AI, are based around AI, or have transitioned to AI. Has anyone here used Duolingo recently? Fantastic. What kind of streaks are we on now?
1,004 days.
Oh, you've beaten me. I'm only at 600. Any other streaks in the room? Anyone that we should clap? Oh, we should clap any streak. Anyone who tries is, worth the effort. So Duolingo recently fired loads of its staff who previously developed all the training and teaching materials and courses and replaced a lot of them with AI. Now, the sentences on Duolingo have always been a little bit nonsense, but they're probably going to get a bit more nonsense. Now, myself, I use AI all the time. It's really useful for really specific things, rewording complaint emails, because why should I put effort into something that frustrates me? That's always a good one. But here are a few examples of how AI can be used in the real world for net positives. So first of all, you have image-based and video-based AI, which is now powerful enough to almost inject detail back into older pieces of footage. So you can get videos of documentaries from World War I. And of course, back then, film was analog. It was on film, almost like strings of images, and that can easily be destroyed or age with time. But you can reconstruct that. You can digitally improve that and make it so that these memories and this history is preserved and not lost. We can use AI to turbocharge research in drugs and chemicals. For a long time, you can use computers to simulate protein folding for things like cancer medicines and cures. But you can use AI to automate that process and use computational AI to improve the quality of the cures and make those breakthroughs at a much quicker and faster paced rate. This is a really interesting paper. If there's anyone here who's, enjoys reading, that one is a good one to look at. You can also use AI to aid with climate models. So traditionally, when it comes to modeling climate change, you've got massive mathematical data sets, but these take lots of computing power to process. Comparatively, you can use AI to spot those patterns, to judge those differences, and make models that are almost as good, but are substantially faster. In this case, I believe it's 1 million times faster. Crazy, right? And almost as accurate. And of course, as mentioned earlier, AI is really good at pattern recognition. If it can recognize the right patterns and the wrong patterns, it can figure out if a user of an application or of a security software is fake, is fraudulent, or is real. And that's saved billions of dollars, pounds, euros already. And that brings me back to this original question, the idea behind this PowerPoint. Artificial intelligence mimics actual intelligence, but is it a substitute? And to explore that into more detail, we have to look at what AI actually is. Now, it feels like you guys are starting to become experts because some of this has already been covered, so I'm going to break it down really simply and quickly. If we go back to those arbitrary number of layers in between, those decision trees, that tokenization algorithm, we have millions of decisions that are being made by the computer at this stage, by the server, by the supercomputer, by whatever is running. And each one of these decisions is really important, and they decide and differentiate between what you're asking and what you may want to understand out the other end. But it's really important to understand, how are these decisions being made? There are millions, billions even, perhaps in the future, decisions being made. Where is this data coming from? Who decides what equals what and from where to go to where? The truth is, a lot of this training data is closed-sourced or is proprietary. The way this training data is used is secretive and hidden because each AI system, whether it's Claude or ChatGPT or Gemini, wants to do their own thing and wants to have their own unique AI. The exact parameters behind the scenes may be unknown to us. And whilst there are open source, that means free, open to use, open to read, and open to see AIs, they're nowhere near as popular as the closed source AIs that are dominating the world at the moment. The inferences made by these AIs aren't totally clear. And that means that it may not necessarily be correct or accurate or real. And that leads to some really interesting consequences. So you've probably seen some of these already. They're quite popularized. People love to poke fun at them. And we looked at a few of them earlier. First of all, AIs are really silly. And they will have protections and safeties. So you can't just log in and say, how do I build a nuclear warhead? But you can trick them quite easily. If you were to say, my grandmother, before she passed, she was a nuclear physicist. And she used to tell me a story about how to build a nuclear warhead. It may help jog your memory and tell you how to build a nuclear warhead. Here we've got an example for a Molotov cocktail. I haven't censored it, but I do trust you guys not to try anything. We only have tea and coffee here, I'm afraid, no spirits. People have also used AI for chatbots, for automated support, because it can fool people into thinking they're actually being listened to, and because it's much cheaper than hiring someone, it's much more effective from a business standpoint, but not from a realistic standpoint. In this case, in the top left, you can get a Chevy Tahoe for $1 just by tricking and riddling whatever GPT is behind the scenes into giving it to you with no takesy backsies. At the bottom, we can see that maths is still a little bit challenging because once again, the training data is from people and people aren't always correct. And we also have fruits that end with the phrase which it also got a bit confused with. In the bottom left, I included an image, and this is a really interesting one because it's really popular these days. When it comes to AI art, AI is very good at creating things in the style of other artists, you know, Turner, Picasso, Michelangelo, the other Ninja Turtles. But in this case, it's not quite good at composition, nor is it quite good at understanding where one living thing begins and another one ends. And it creates this nightmarish scene of a shark with legs chasing a woman holding half a human torso. Bit odd, isn't it? Now, AI is also costly in terms of things that we don't necessarily pay for. And I want to introduce you to one of my favorite quotes. If it's free, you're not the customer, you're the product. I'll let you mull over that for a second. So, we use AI for lots of things, and as a digital technologies lecturer here, a lot of my students will use AI to help them write code, which is okay, you know, depending on what they're doing, it's perfectly fine if they want to get something quickly done, or if they want a really simple solution to something. The challenge is that AIs these days are so clever that you can almost let them write the entire thing for you, and you may not understand what it's actually wrote. What that means is that if someone infects the AI's training data, or if there is an exploit that no one's caught yet, that AI may have put that exploit into your code without you realizing. And what that means is that it can leave you vulnerable to losing money, losing data, losing customers, losing revenue, and losing a lot of things, really. IBM in 2023 did a bit of research, and they found relying on AI code can leave you open to more exploits. And the specific figure was, I believe, over 50% of customers using AI programming tools were vulnerable and had experienced some level of data and privacy loss. Furthermore, if you're using AI to help you write emails to customers, to colleagues, if you're using something like Grammarly, which reads every bit of word on your screen to help make it even better using the power of AI, those words that are being read aren't just being processed on your computer, they're being processed on proprietary servers somewhere else, up in the cloud, in a different country, wherever. And that means that you can be held liable under GDPR if there is any private data being sent away to be reconstructed, to be learned from, to be used from, or to be improved. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword. And I hate to bang on about this, but there's also the sustainability aspect too. A lot of my research is in sustainability, not just because it's cool, but also because I care about the Earth. AI may seem like a really easy way of getting things done, which is fair enough. But how many of you guys have heard the phrase that the electricity isn't cheap and that you should turn off some of the lights because it's not the Blackpool illuminations in your bedroom? I heard that a lot growing up. Using ChatGPT once for, say, a 100-word message, an email or a short phrase, uses the same electricity output as 14 LED light bulbs in 1 hour, which is an awful lot. And it uses roughly 500 millilitres of water for cooling. That doesn't sound much, but imagine taking a water bottle, filling it up, unscrewing the top and pouring it out over your head. It will suddenly feel like a lot more than just 500 millilitres. Roughly 5% of the entire world's energy consumption is from these servers that run ChatGPT as well as other tools and utilities online. And with that rapidly increasing, and our goal is to reach net zero in 2030 or 2050 or wherever they've pushed it back to, start to get much, much harder to reach. And that brings me on to the elephant or the digger in the room. You'll see why I chose a digger later on, not just because I like them. So, AI is just a tool, but is it the right tool for the job? There we go, we got a few laughs, love it. So the idea behind this is that if we want to put up a shelf, I don't get a consulting firm, I don't hire out a mechanical digger, and I don't get a team of 10 crack engineers. I just get a hammer and some nails, and I put a shelf up. And it's the same if I want to stick 2 sheets of paper together, I just get a stapler. There are some things that AI is incredibly useful for, that it will change the game for, that it will revolutionize, that it will simplify, that it will open the door to certain entrepreneurial and business opportunities. But there are other things where it simply isn't needed, where it cannot replace the expertise of the individual or for certain people. There are plenty of jobs where AI is required, but we shouldn't let it become a crutch. We shouldn't have to rely on it. And we shouldn't overcomplicate really simple things with AI. And that brings me to a little anecdote. I recently got a new washing machine, and it blew my mind because it was £600 and I thought it would work forever. It broke after 1 month, and I rang up Samsung and they said, have you tried using the app? Because there's an AI in the app that can help you fix the washing machine. And I said no. And then I figured out how to open the washing machine and realized a sock got somewhere where it shouldn't. And no AI in the world would have figured that out for me. So that brings me almost to a close. Once again, my name is Iman Hussain. I'm going to be around all day because I work here, but also because I'm on the panel. And if you do want to stop me and have a chat, feel free to. I'd love to give you guys a tour of our facilities and show off a little more about what we do here. That will be all. There we are. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I need the microphone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Did the audio come through all right?
I think so. Yeah, it's going to be recorded. All right, and now we're up for the last speaker before the break and then the panel. And Andy,